Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast are of the presenters and the presenters only and do not represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 77. Today we're going to do our candidate Q&A part 3. We had some more questions come in at the end of April, beginning of May, so we are going to do that this evening with James, Bill, and myself. And just a quick, and Toasty. I can't forget about Toasty up in here, too. He's included. And how was your week, Toasty?
Hot. Very hot. We broke the heat index record here in San Antonio area like 2 days in a row now. But other than that, it's been really light now. Been getting done around 2:30 instead of my usual 3:30. Packages are steadying out, especially on my newer neighborhoods. They're getting everything that they've already needed, and they've stopped ordering a bit. So calm down a bit. It's making it a little bit easier, but waiting for these new subdivisions that are opening up to start moving in, and then I'll probably get it all back again. Other than that, James, how was your week?
Oh, it was a normal week at the post office for me, a little heavier on the packages and the mail for a little bit there. We got some political out already. I know you had your runoffs at Toasty, but we're starting to see it trickle in our office. So reminder, guys, anything political, you got to endorse and put in a special place so the supervisors can count it every single day because we have to treat it like first-class mail. But other than that, just on my way back from a Detroit Tigers game, it was Pink Out the Park for breast cancer awareness. And so we do pray for anybody that's dealing with cancer of any form, especially breast cancer. But yeah, that's been my week. How about your week, Bill?
Another week recuperating, going stir crazy. A lot of paperwork. I'm putting together my mailing for the national or the state officers, NSS, which my cohorts have yet to get to me, but that's okay. We got to the end of June, and just enjoying the time off, and trying not to go nuts because I hate sitting around. But when they put a 4-inch hole in your belly button, there's not much you can really do.
I hear ya.
Kristin, how's your week?
My week was interesting. I can't go into too much detail on here, but if you're on the pre-show, you kind of heard about it. And by the way, I did send you my stuff to be sent out, so via email, PDF file, along with the banquet table stuff. Yes.
Well, I got your banquet tables already paid for.
Yep. And I should have had my letter was included with that.
Better go back and check that.
Yes, you should. If not, I
no,
can
you.
Yeah, I will. Other than that, my route inspection for Tuesday was postponed. I was off Wednesday for my daughter's doctor's appointment, which has now turned into going in twice a week for NST testing and growth monitoring on ultrasound and with umbilical Doppler. So baby is smaller than the doctor's comfortable with, but other than that, heart rate's good, kick count's good. It's just small right now, so they're just going to monitor that for a while. If he has a growth spurt and catches up, they'll end the monitoring. Until then, she right now is scheduled out twice a week through the middle of August. So yeah, that's pretty much been, I worked today, my K-Day. And then I'm off the rest of the week with our state convention starting, caucus and memorial tomorrow evening, business Monday, Tuesday, post-convention board meeting Wednesday, Thursday, and then doctor's appointment Wednesday. So, yeah, I'm off the whole week. Or Friday, not Wednesday. Doctor's appointment Friday. So I'm off the whole week, so I don't go back to work till a week from Monday. So, other than that, it hasn't been too bad. So, guys, I got these questions pulled up. Are you ready to begin?
Let's get it done.
Ready?
All right, I only
Yeah,
have
just give your best shot.
I have one question that is directed towards Bill. So I'm going to get that one out of the way, and then everything else
I don't know.
everything else is for
Okay.
all four of us.
Let me look into it. I'll get back to you.
Right? This one is for Bill. It says, what is your number one priority goal once you're in office? What do we need to do to help you achieve your goals?
I would like to say the elimination of tables 2 and 4. But I'm torn. The toxic atmosphere in the post office is almost as equal concern. But in my case, I walked away from a job that offered me substantially more money because of a incident that occurred, and the money didn't matter. In the same respect, some people will work at lower paying jobs if they like working there. So I'm conflicted in regards to how to balance those two topics out. Yes, you can attract people with better pay. It doesn't mean that you're going to get people that they're going to be trained correctly, that they'll stay in the job and that they'll enjoy the job if they're going to an office, which is horrendous in regards to how they treat carriers. So to me, I think we need to start with the better pay to attract better candidates. But immediately after that, and that's a one-time shot in correcting the pay, and we have to address the situation in regards to the toxic atmosphere in the post office. I'm going to give you a little insight to the toxic atmosphere. An individual I know just got done the Pennsylvania State NAPS convention. That's the convention for supervised postmasters, all the EAS employees that can attend. And out of the entire state of Pennsylvania, they had 5 attendees. Now, how piss poor is that in relation to the amount of carriers to attend their local, state, and the national convention? Their number one topic at this convention was the toxic atmosphere, the constant harassment from above. So we're not the only ones experiencing it. And I know firsthand in my office how it is. The managers, the supervisors, EAS employees are also suffering from the toxic atmosphere they are under. The falsification of data just to get reports done. First class mail being reported. And they have a problem because of the fact that there are snitches in the offices that these people work at who are reporting back to POOMs and district managers when these reports are filed as being complete and these duties are done and everything's been addressed in the course of a workday. And they're coming back, wrote up 11 EAS employees in PA District 2. So until the post office can be into submission to a contract, to treat people with dignity and respect, to hire trained individuals, not just the patsies they know, they like, or some clerk moving up, people with real world experience in management. We're not going to resolve that problem as far as having a toxic and hostile work environment. And then it starts with, our president starts with the director of labor operations, and it's going to start with the director of steward operations, and everybody down to the local steward. Put this in effect and start defending our carriers as they should be, and have them treated like human beings, not just numbers on some damn report.
I agree, and I'm kind of going to add in onto that is how can the membership help us with the toxic work environment things? Stand up for yourself and start filing them grievances. Because if there's no paper trail...
And that's true. That it starts with the person standing up for themselves. And I know there's plenty of timid people out there. Even timid people have the point of no return. It means they're quitting.
Mm-hmm.
And that time it's too late for us to salvage the situation. You're in an office and you see somebody step up and speak out. These are your brothers and sisters in the craft, whether you like them or not. Because like I've always said, if they go after one, they will go after all of us.
Yep.
Together and file.
All right. You are breaking up a little bit still, Bill, but we'll move on. Okay. Go back up to the top here. All right, this one's for all four of us, but I pulled out paperwork on this one, so I'll take the lead once I read it off. Currently, there's no introductory material on the union, what it actually does, how it can become involved in your individual workspace, how to participate, whether as an observer or participant in union activities, pass the sign here for payroll deduction of dues. Is there any plans to fill this void? Does your plans, if any, allow for non-union members to view this information? I'm going to take the lead because I actually have several copies of the recruitment booklet for the union. I was able to get a bunch of copies. This is the ones that I know for my state anyways, our recruiters that go to the orientations, and as well for our academy facilitators. And it is actually a 17-page booklet, including the 1187. And it on the cover it says the National Rural Letter Carriers Association, please accept this personal invitation from the NRLCA's 107,000 plus members to join the association that can provide you with the best information concerning your rights and responsibilities as a rural letter carrier. Our organization is compromised rural carriers working for rural carriers. Please accept this personal invitation to join us today. Enclosed are some brief examples of what your active membership has waiting for you. And this edition that I have is February of 2023. I'm just going to go over the table of contents. That would kind of gives you the overview that they give us. And table of contents subject is why it pays to belong, leave replacement benefit summary, the current evaluated pay system for regular and relief carriers, frequently asked questions, compensation, salary and wages, contractual language, non-career employee health benefits, relief carrier pay stub, gives kind of a little overview on that stuff. How do I contact my steward/district rep? Services administered by the NRLCA, insurance services endorsed by the NRLCA, NRLCA, a family organization, NRLCA insurance plan by National General, Atlanta Postal Credit Union, summary enrollment instructions, 1187 form. And then the membership enrollment form tear off. So there is actually a booklet out there. It does actually, like I said, it is 17 pages long. It's got QR codes for both Android and Apple for the NRLCA mobile app in there. It bargaining unit rule at carrier leave replacement benefit summary. Goes over the stuff about leave replacements. It talks about the evaluated pay system, explanation of the different types of routes, and then it talks about for, the relief carriers and going over 40 hours during the week. Are the duties of a rural, under facts, are the duties of a rural leave replacement the same as a regular rural carrier? For the most part, yes, because of the part-time nature of the job. There are some duties that can be required of rural leave replacements that cannot be required of rural carriers. Otherwise, the duties and responsibilities of leave replacements are the same as those of a regular rural carrier. Handbook PO 603 defines the duties and responsibilities. It provides instructions for carrying out those duties and responsibilities. Compensation, salary, wages. It does have the table, looks like table 4 and table 3 schedule in there. It's got the memorandum of understanding for non-career health employee health benefits from when that first started. Kind of goes over what the paycheck stub looks like and the explanations of them. Tells you how to locate your steward on the website or app. And then it talks about the services administered, labor relations, administrative, legislative. And then again, you have the National General APCU stuff in there. So there actually is a booklet. I would definitely look through it and go over it and see if there was anything that could be changed or added in. Definitely, for sure, is what I would do. All right, guys, go ahead. Next, who wants to take that one if they'd want to add in, if anybody. If not, I will.
I'll add into that.
Okay.
Well, I said this at SWAC too. When I was doing my nomination speech, we have a whole generation that has grown up on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok. We need to adapt our message and our teaching style to short form videos. Make it kind of quirky. That's what kids like. That's what this younger generation likes. So people like me with ADHD, we like to learn in short little 1-minute tidbits. We need to be able to adapt. When we can do that, people are going to be more interested. They're going to learn more. They're going to be more apt to say, okay, I'm getting value from these videos. I'm getting value from learning and knowing what to do in all of this. So they're going to eventually recruit in because they're going to say, okay, now I get what's going on with the union. It's not just, they take money from me, and half the time when I have a grievance, even as a non-member, they still don't handle it. So why should I pay, $30, $20 a paycheck in order to be a part of the union that I don't feel does anything for me? We need to adapt. We need to change. We need to update our website that is so difficult to navigate. You click on one thing thinking it's in there. Nope, it's not in there. You got to go to another page. We need to adapt. We need to change our message. We need to update and refresh the way we think about communicating to the carriers and communicating to this younger generation. I mean, today at work, I was making a little joke about one of the RCAs in our office lives in the neighborhood next to me. And we always say, hi, neighbor, type of deal. And I said, Heidi ho, neighbor, which is a home improvement reference.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get it. He was born in the 2000s. So I'm just sitting there kind of sad that I'm, 37 years old. And, to me, it's still kind of fresh in my mind. But to him, he didn't get it at all. So you have this younger generation that you have to be able to reach as well and explain to them how things work. Because they need to know, and we can't keep doing the same old format. Put it on a PowerPoint, put it on a PDF and just send it out. Oh, there's plenty of good information on the site if you can understand it, if you can interpret it. And that's the problem that a lot of people have been having with RX, with everything that we have with the union and communications and contract is it's not put into simple terms. It's all legalese. It's all kind of convoluted. You have to have a different type of mindset to dissect it and to mold it into a way that other people can understand as well.
I completely agree with you 100%. Bill or James, either one of you have anything to add to that one?
I'm going to
Well,
piggyback
I'd
right
like,
off of Toasty there. And I agree with them 100%. It's one of the things that I want to fix is the convoluted website. You know, how hard is it to find out who your steward is on that website? You have to know you have to click on departments. Then you have to click on steward operations. Then you have to click on find my steward to enter the zip code. Why is it so hard to put a little search box in the top left corner of the website saying find my steward, punch in your zip code here, and you find out who your steward is? No, you got to go through 4 different places to get there. Our stewards should be talking to our carriers. They should be going into these offices and saying, hey, I'm your steward. If you need anything, here's my card, and here's your wine garden rights in a card. They should be talking to these carriers in their offices. It shouldn't just be, oh, well, here's the union at your orientation. Now when you go to your office, you don't see a steward. Well, your steward needs to be there. It's time to stop being reactive to things. It's time to start being proactive. We need to stop coming out with little tidbits 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the fact on the website. We are in the modern day age of information sharing. That's why we have this podcast here, is a modern day way of sharing information. Why is it that our union takes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get information out to the carriers, or even in times 2 months to file a step 4 on something? This information should be right front and center for carriers. And I don't care who you are, you should know who your steward is. You shouldn't be a 10, 15, 20-year veteran and not know who your steward is. As one of the carriers I talked to is a 15-year veteran and didn't know how to get a hold of their steward or where it was located on that website. So getting our carriers in front of their stewards, letting them know that they could talk to them, telling them that, hey, if you have any problems, get a hold of me. I'll be there for you. That is the key priority that we need to have for this craft.
Bill, do you have anything?
yeah, it's, James stole my thunder on the steward situation. Why isn't it just that simple? Put your zip code in, steward pops up. It's not that hard. The problem is you create a Facebook page, but you're not allowed to comment on it. The point if you can't have a two-way conversation. Now, for the people who, like Toasty said, technical language, it's lawyer language. And that's the way contracts are. And you're not going to get away from that because that's lawyers draw it up like that. But there is not a problem with you putting up a contractual item and then putting a little blurb underneath it and saying, this is what it means. I mean, if you read some of our contractual obligations, you'll sit there and go batsy because of the fact that you're not a lawyer and you don't understand how they went from A to B to C, back to A, back to E, back to B, back to F. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you understand them and put it together, it does make sense. Unfortunately, in this modern day and age, people don't have the comprehension skills because of the fact that they want the information in 15, 30 seconds, minute at the max. So therefore you have to condense it for them to be able to comprehend exactly what it is. It's not their fault. It's not the deficiency. It's the thought process that young people have developed into. So if you want to get the young people involved, show them how they'll understand it. And that's the point that, Joseph was saying, that if you want people involved, then you have to get short, sweet, to the point, succinct, and credible so that they say, oh, I want to get involved or I need to get involved. But the fact of the matter is that people still writing this stuff are not the people who are working under those rules and regulations. So we have to change the format that we present the contract, the MOUs, and everything else so that people can get it in that little 15-second. And that way, they'll have enough to participate in a grievance, in a local meeting, in a state convention, wherever, and feel that on equal footing because they understand the material. It's down to those, segments.
I just want to add two in. As we were talking about, Toasty talking about, moving forward, in the technology and getting it out there, especially with the younger generation coming in, because that, the younger generation coming in is definitely going to be the future down the road. And, why, having a video or something like that, but being able to sign up via the website, via the app. Now, yes, I understand it's a payroll deduction. You have to have an actual signature. How many of us have done loans? I've done my car loan with APCU and personal loans where they send you a DocuSign and you just initial and you sign on the DocuSign. Why couldn't we do something like that as well?
Because it costs money.
Costs money to print out a bunch of these booklets that sounds like a lot of
Yeah,
people are not
exactly that
getting.
too. You gotta adapt and kind of piggybacking off of Bill. If you go into the magazines on the website, you can actually look at the one that we had from the last contract where they said, hey, here's what's changing in the contract. Here's the new verbiage. And if you look through the new verbiage, right after it in red text is an explanation of, okay, here's why, let's say the PTF position that it was created, for you have to have at least, a PTF for every 10% of K routes, for every 10K routes. And it explains under there, for routes 5 through 15 is 1 PTF, for 16 through 24 is 2 PTFs, and it explains in simple detail why it's created and what it does. We need that for the whole contract, so that way people can go, okay, that's what that means. That's, okay, this is where I could have a grievance because this is what it was meant to be, not this convoluted sense of twisting the words and, well, okay, maybe, management can get away with that. No, let's do another, when we get the contract, let's do another one for the full contract explaining, okay, this is why we do this. This is why we have this section. This is where you're protected on this.
Which would technically be what the RCAM is supposed to do. It would just have to update that. Am I right?
Please don't bring up the argument.
Okay.
Our new steward said RCAM. I says, never mind. I just walk away.
Exactly. My new steward's like, RCAM? What's that? So,
oh my goodness. No.
Well, and the same thing, they were also told everything's on, majority of it's on the website, blah, blah, blah. If you're in a very rural area, you don't always get the greatest internet. My local steward does not have the greatest internet. I look up a lot of the information that he needs and print it out and give it to him because he doesn't have the greatest of internet to be able to sit down and do that. He can't even stream a TV show. He's running off satellite internet. I know he just upgraded, so it's a little bit better. He's got sketchy cell phone service. He has to do the service bar dance in the house if I try and call him when he's home, if he's not outside on the back patio where he might have half a signal. There's still carriers in those areas like that. So yeah, you've got to have a means to be able to reach out to everybody. And so yeah, I would definitely... Let's move on. All right. Next question. Why did none of the candidates come and campaign at Eastern or Western states conferences? Well, for me, I'll start off real quick. What?
Table two is why.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, James. Toasty, you're table 2, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. So the 3 out of the 4 of us are table 2. That is one of the biggest ones. I did not have enough time as being a newer regular carrier to take off yet more time or be afford to take off leave without pay. I could not afford to go. I only went to Mid-States. It was local for me. That is my regional conference. So I did mine there. I wish I could have gone to the other ones this year. Unfortunately, both financially and time-wise, was not feasible for myself.
Same here. I went from 48K to 41K last year, and then barely up to 44. I was still donating plasma. I was trying to, catch up on bills and keep our heads afloat, and just couldn't afford to do multiple. I already went to SWAC because that was my regional as well. Announced there, and then was able to save up enough and scrounge and got a good deal. Thank you, James, for Mid-States to go ahead and make it to that one as well.
James is in the same boat with us on that one, so we know that. Bill?
Yep, and
Go ahead, James. Finish off.
Yeah.
I would have gone, but I used all the extra funds I could to go to SWAC first, because thanks to Bill, I had a room available for me, and most of my other expenses were covered as well, with both Bill and Toasty helping me out with that. But in order to go to Eastern, it would have cost me more money than I had. Same with Western and SAC, and it wasn't affordable to me to be able to get to those. Well, it wasn't affordable to go to SWAC either, in terms of gas to drive down there. I mean, the flight would cost the same as the fuel I spent to go down there. But we tried to cover at least a couple of them, because it's important to us to be involved in that. And I apologize if I offended anybody in those regions that felt like we were, quote unquote, shunning them for it. But it really was cost prohibitive for us. Unfortunately, we're not the national board that gets paid to go to all those events. So we have to cover them on our own. But that's my take on it.
Go ahead, Bill.
All right. From my point of view, I attended SWAC with James, and I was, financially capable to go to almost all of the conferences that I'd like to. We had a death mother-in-law. I had a stent put in my right leg for a calcium deposit that was blocking blood flow, and because of my mother-in-law's past, I couldn't go to Mid-States, which I really wanted to go to. Number one, because of the people who be there. Number two, because of the size of that conference in relation to the number of craft employees it represents. The Eastern States is one I've attended a number of times, and I found to be very unfulfilling. It's more of a environment than anything else. And even though you do get an opportunity to stand up there and put your platform out for people to examine, it's like I said, it wouldn't behoove me to go there. And Western States just didn't work out time wise for me, because I had the second operation. But that one there, Western States is one of those ones I really wanted to go to. Again, timing is everything. Like Jim says, we're not on the national board. We don't get paid trips to go to these conferences where these people can go to these conferences and extend their platform, even though they're not supposed to be politicking. It goes on. It goes on every day, every place they travel to, in the flesh. And unfortunately, I do have the means to go to them. I just didn't have the timing for it due to circumstances. And I'm glad I attended SWAC, because I thought that was the most eye-opening in regards to how our national president looks at our craft. And you freeloaders and you scabs, you know who I'm talking about.
Alrighty, and on to the next one. This one I think we're going to take in order of the offices that we're running. What is the first thing you want to change if elected? I know we've kind of covered this a little bit. Bill did a little bit, but I'm going to have you go for it again. What is the first thing you want to change if elected?
The pay tables, the elimination of 2 and 4. You can hire people at a better wage, and you may be able to retain them. The first thing people, ask for when they say, what does the job pay? How much time do I get off? What are the benefits? They're concerned about being able to meet the needs of their family before they take a position. To meet their financial commitments to their car loan, their rent, their mortgage, their food, whatever. So that would be the first issue. And once that issue is resolved, then we can step on to the next issues. And like I said, the toxic atmosphere in the United States Postal Service is the second thing on my agenda, because of the fact that you've lost too many people who have up and walked out of their own careers because of management. Has to be addressed.
All right, and since I'm going for the second command, I'll go next. The first thing I'd want to change if elected, well, alongside with the pay tables, as Bill was saying, my next... Gosh, where do I start with this one? As vice president, the first thing I would want to change, that I would have control of changing. Jeez. There's just so many things on my list. Bill can go for the pay tables. I'm gonna go for the treatment of newer RCAs. As a vice president is the one that works with USPS headquarters on the training materials, the academy, the OJT materials, which the new stuff just came out. I can't wait to be able to finally see it, especially the OJT booklet as being an OJI. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I would want to keep it updated. So I'm going to go on with the training. It took 5 years to get this update. And I would want to make sure that it was updated, even if it, not even completely reprinting it, but if there were certain changes that need to be made and were agreed upon, then to at least have an addendum or a secondary book, handout, something else that goes with the current material, the new stuff out there, that would be able to go out right away and not have to wait, the 5 years or however long, but making sure that the training material was kept up to date as much as possible, as quick as possible, and in the quickest way. I know that we're talking about USPS. I understand that. Quick is definitely not a priority with them lately. But that would definitely be, and that would be right down into the treatment of newer RCAs. I mean, you'll have all these new RCAs come in, and management will just kiss their butts left and right. But as soon as those 2 full pay periods are up with their OJT, they're throwing them to the wolves and doing them directly right. I would like to see it done as a suggestion to make sure that an RCA is proficient on their primary route prior to having them go on another route. Yeah, it would definitely be training, and retaining, and the way that they treat the new employees is definitely a priority, top priority on my list. And that I'd want to change. James?
Well, you are absolutely correct on the treatment of the post office. I've been running on the harassment platform, the constant harassment from management. But the very, very, very first thing that I'm going to change is I'm going to change the constant settling for language only for things that we already have language on. Management has made it their goal to find every little piece of the contract they can violate and violate it to see what will settle for language on it for. And settling for language that already exists is just doing the dirty to the union. So it's time for us to start putting a financial burden on the post office for violating the contract. I want to make it so expensive to violate the contract that management will actually start following it, because they constantly sit there and just go, oh, well, I didn't know. I find it kind of interesting that whenever we are disciplined by management, the ruling is it doesn't matter if you don't know, you violated it. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse in many instances, and management's ignorance of the contract can no longer be an excuse.
Toasty.
Well, for my position, it's basically working with the director of steward operations, and I want to unleash the hounds, so to speak. I want to be able to get our DRs, our ADRs to just go ham on management. Work with James to go ahead and make sure that we no longer settle for language, that we start, 100% at least cease and desist at the minimum, and then from there go with the financial penalties. Make sure that we grieve and get notification back to the carriers about their grievances, about the information that they're requesting. Have an open line of communication with everyone, because we need to stop management from mismanaging. Even though they have a right to do it, we're going to make sure that they stop. We're going to make it so difficult for them to do their jobs, because they're having to deal with all these grievances and they're having to go into all these meetings, because we're not going to take it anymore. We need a fighting spirit again. We need to go ahead and just go for the jugular, start going for those financial penalties, and start holding them accountable.
Thank you, guys. I definitely have to agree on all aspects of that, too. All right, next question. Now, this is not one we really have control over as a national board, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. This question is concerning the buying back of our time from our RCA sub days to go towards retirement. This is, and they're give an example of their office. This is our office currently. Route 1's regular has 7 sub years she would like to buy back. Route 2 is me, and I have 14 years. Route 3 has 17 years. And Route 4 has 12 years. Route 5 has 8 years. And our aux carrier is an RCA now for 24 years. Yes, that's not a typo, 24. I know this may not be the norm for some areas, but it is here. It would be great to have the option to buy back. And I completely agree. Having been an RCA for just under 9 years, I completely agree. I would love to be able to be able to put that, some of that time towards my retirement computation. Unfortunately, that is completely out of the union's hands. That is an act of Congress, and the proposition is out there, but it's getting on your congressional representatives to sponsor and support the bill and make headway. It's been reintroduced several times, and it tends to not get very far. And when they did have it back in the day, there was money in coffers that so it was a prorated amount. The thing is, and unless they were able to do that again, and that's where the financial thing comes in, I know for me, if it was something that we could do, I probably would not even be able to afford to buy back my RCA time. That's the biggest hiccup on that, is if there is not financial coffers for that to offset what our costs would be directly, the 100, whatever our costs would be once it's calculated to help support that, it would not be financially feasible. Even for me, with just under 9 years in, I can't imagine somebody trying to buy back 10, 15, 20 plus years of an RCA, how much that would cost. I mean, that we're talking a couple years worth of salary. Am I wrong, guys?
You
No, they
said it
talked about
perfectly.
yeah, they
Okay.
talked about
You
it
said
at SWAC and at Mid States about the cost of
Yeah.
a bill like that. So it's yeah, we can do everything that we can. We can work with the PAC, the political action committees. We can work with everyone. We can meet with as many Congress and senators as possible to go ahead and get it passed. But like you just pointed out, there's that cost to it, and it's kind of breathtaking.
Yeah, it really is.
well, there actually is one thing that we can do as a national board, and that involves this current contract negotiation, and that is to get the resolution or one similar to it that was passed at National Convention, which is that RCAs that have either 2080 hours or 2 years in of service with the Postal Service move over to a career RCA position. And then that way they could start earning that retirement. Unfortunately for those, like in my office, a 17-year, 15-year, 5.5 year, and my 3.5 years, wouldn't be able to buy it back with that unless, like you said, an act of Congress. Your representatives and senators need to pass that bill. So it's on every single rural letter carrier out there, every city carrier too, all of them to push for that buyback and get it out there. Send them a letter, call them, email them, anything. Just tell them that you think that that's something that they should pass. But other than that, that's the only other option. But that would only work for new hires and RCAs that have been there for that amount of time or more. And they would then start at that very moment the contract is signed.
Anybody else?
I've got a point of view on this because of the fact that it does affect me. But my biggest point of view is that we brag at the National Convention when we collect $1 million per PAC. And yet we don't put anything in the magazine on a monthly basis to contact our representatives to push this bill through, to push through an amendment that says you don't have to buy back all your years. You can buy back the year you want to buy back. Like you said, at table 2, it's cost prohibitive for most people. And I don't understand why we're at this point with James' simple explanation. If you have this many hours in, you're qualified as a career RCA. 20 years as an RCA is inexcusable. And maybe it's because of the location of the office, the hours, whatever. The person's decided to stay there and remain in that position. But after all that time, they should have a retirement investment in their name. It's beyond me that this is still going on. Again, it's out of our hands, but have the ability to influence it. And once a month, when we put our magazine out, we ought to be addressing this and bringing it to the workers' minds every damn month. Because they're the ones going to contact their and get this pushed through. Without enough vocalization from the membership to their representatives in Congress, okay, we're not going to get anywhere as the union.
All right, moving on. What are you doing to protect the carriers from losing money every 6 months during the wrecks? Well, I think the biggest protection we can do for the carriers is education, and not just say, well, you can read the information on the website. All the information's available on the website. I think I could take, a note out of Toasty's playbook because, like I said, today's day and age with these younger ones coming in, it comes down to fully understanding what the rec scans are, educating yourself on them, and applying them when you should be properly while you're out on the route. At the same time, ensuring that your edit book is up to date every month, that your mapping, you are present for your mapping every month, and making sure all your pinpoints are correct, your TCPs are correct, your line of travel is correct. Yes, standards dropped on many things. And unfortunately, without going back in and renegotiating standards, that's unfortunately not going to change. But I think a lot of the ones, especially with some of these routes that are still losing, comes back to, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't get him to drink. But I do think all that information on rec scans and the educating of the carriers, instead of just saying, well, it's on the union website, needs to be available for every carrier, regardless if they are dues paying or not, because again, this affects their wages. It should be available. I've said it in the past, and I would want to make sure it was available to everybody. And this kind of will tie in with the next question as well, but I'm going to finish this up. And then as we're training our new RCAs, like I said, I have not seen the new training materials. I knew they're supposed to include in Rex. I know as an OJI, I've got the training switched around with the last two RCAs in my office to where when I'm doing their OJT, I'm having them do all the rec scans, the clock in, the depart to route, start, load, end load, whereas before they weren't doing them. We were just doing the start, load, end load. Now we flip that around, so when the regular comes in to take the other half, they're only doing the start, load, end load, and the new RCAs are doing all of them. When we're out on the route, and the RCA has more than one trip to the door with parcels, I have them put it in, so they get into that habit right then and there. If they have a postage due, I show them that postage due scan right then and there. If, as all that stuff, unscannable parcel, door miscellaneous, all those little ones, I do those as they come about while I'm training. Unfortunately, we don't get to experience them all during the limited training that we have, and I think that needs to change as well. But it really comes down to getting the information out. And if that means a YouTube video or something short and sweet describing, okay, the 6 mandatory ones, well, an episode on the 6 mandatory ones, and then an episode on the ones that we do on the route, and, break that up into a couple of them, because there are quite a few of them. And explain, a quick explanation with a scanner to show them how it's done, like in real time. I would love to have something like that. That way, if somebody was like, oh, hey, they could go look at it right then and there and be like, and as they see it, how it's done, not just reading it on a piece of paper with an arrow highlighting a box with a picture of a scanner. Like I said, taking the piece out of Toasty's playbook there of, something that's not quite, maybe a little interactive as well, but at least they can see it in action and what it is and where to do it and how it pertains to what they're going to do there. I think that's the biggest thing it comes down to with some of these routes that are consistently losing time, is the mapping definitely is a huge one, as well as those additional scans while you're out on the route. All right, I'm going to pass that on to the rest of you. I'm going to go with Toasty next.
What we're doing is we're exactly on this podcast. We're trying to educate you. We're trying to give you the information in a digestible manner. We're trying to give it to you while you can listen while delivering. You don't have to sit there in front of a computer and watch a video or, try to do that. This is a way that we can do multiple things. If you want to watch a video, if that's what's easier for you, we can go ahead and start doing that. Go ahead and keep an eye out. I was getting ready to start editing. But other than that, with podcasting, you can listen on the route, put in your earbud, one earbud, be safe, And
Technically, we just
you know,
got the talk. You're not supposed to have earbuds on while you're driving, but you
mhm.
can have one earbud in while you're on the workroom floor casing your mail.
Or if you have Bluetooth in your POV or in the mattress,
A
even
speaker,
Apple Play, a speaker.
or
Yep.
yeah, a speaker in your LLV, FFV, whatever you're driving.
And that
Mhm.
way you can hear the information. It may take a few times, or you may be like, okay, I have a question about that. You know, try to remember. If you need to write it down, try to write it down and send a message. We have the Discord group. There's the Facebook group. There's multiple avenues where you can ask questions. That way you can get clarification. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it easier for everyone to understand the entire process.
James?
Your point on the scanners is exactly accurate, but I want to specify that there's also another aspect of this that a lot of people are forgetting about when it comes to your evaluation. And that is, this is an average of everything. Our current president loves to talk about bell curves. Our evaluation is a bell curve. So when you have days constantly where you have 110, 200 packages consistently, and then you have that one day where you have 10 packages, guess what? Your evaluation just dropped because of those 10 packages that one day because Amazon didn't show up, the postal truck didn't show up, and so you only delivered 10 packages. Well, that just hurt your evaluation big time. And then the next day, if you don't get the packages that were supposed to be for that day, or they're just slowly filtered in throughout the week, that keeps your evaluation lower. So you have to be cognizant of what's going on with your route on that. Same with the mail volume. When you have a heavy Monday and then the rest of the week is late,
You're breaking up, James.
so you have to monitor what's going on with your route every single day and make sure that you're covering everything that you need to do every single day.
And also the mini mail surveys, knowing what you can and cannot dispute is another one. I still think, again, this is stuff that's found on the website, but again, I feel it's something that every craft member should have access to right away on how to properly dispute mini mail surveys. As well as, there was one more thing and it just slipped my mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill, if you got anything to add onto this.
Well, to me, one of the problems is that we are dependent on management to train our carriers in the REX program. And we have seen that it's been such a catastrophic failure because they weren't trained. Therefore, it falls back on the union. And then the union turns around and puts the onus on the carriers. Well, what is the purpose of the union if it doesn't educate the carriers? I mean, it's not a matter of you have to go to school every day or anything like that. It's a matter of having that information available to them. And not that they have to search through the NRLCA website for 20 minutes to find one iota of information pertaining to their situation. I'm talking about a daily, weekly, monthly, every single day, if not several times a day. If situations come up, it ought to be posted on that situation in regards to what that carrier's looking for. If management is incapable, unwilling, inexperienced, just stupid, okay, to the point where they can't even train the carriers. And we've seen this across the country. I've seen it in my own office because none of our supervisors were ever trained. Our postmaster was never trained. And it becomes the onus of the union to make sure the membership has access to that material, educate themselves in regards to the REX program, in regards to the 603, the ELM, any publications they need to protect themselves as well as to do their jobs in a professionally efficient manner, safely every day. So to sit there and blame management, that's a cop out to me. And we ought to be out there educating the carriers to make sure that they have all the resources available to them to make sure that they're getting paid for what they're doing. And as the director of steward operations, I know James will immediately turn around and say, we will not settle for language. There will be financial penalties for every time you violate the contract. We are going to make you pay. Like I said in my statement in the magazine, we're going to make the USPS stand up and take notice because we're not going to back down. We're tired of it, and we're coming after you.
All right. And like I said, that one kind of fed into the next question here. Do you intend to open the NRLC website to non-dues paying rural carriers or create a partially password site that they can access or leave non-union members where they are now with no official way to access union information about their job? I am not against opening part of it up to non-union members, the things that affect their job directly, especially with Rex. The Rex information should be available. I do believe there should be more information available to non-union members, but there are still information that union members would have, that would still be under password, but not everything. Bill?
I'm torn on this because I grew up in a union household.
Mm-hmm.
And from the late 60s and 70s, I've seen the consequences of non-union versus union. And as of this moment, I'll stand at this. There are avenues that we can provide non-union members. I'm not sure that we need to. And the reason I say that is because there are other websites out there, ruralinfo.net, and there's the OWCP things on Wednesdays. There's Fed Up. There's a number of podcasts out there that can guide you into information that you need. Training materials per se that people need to do their jobs, whether they're union or non-union, I believe should be posted in their local offices. And it's at that point, it's on them to make use of that material when it's available. But I don't think we should be providing it to them off the database because of the fact that the union members are paying to support that database. Our website is paid by these dues.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little torn, but I'm going to remain that the union website remains for the union carriers, and the other carriers, they can turn around and use other resources for information, as well as talking to their union brothers and sisters in their office.
Toasty?
I think I'm with you on the RRECS stuff, at least, because technically it does affect union members. You see, when a PTF is a senior senior RCA or PTF is a union member, and somebody who is a non-union member either bids off a route or retires, well, that route's now screwed up because the carrier before them didn't do the right scans or didn't do scans properly, mapping properly, a number of things. Well, now it's going to take a year for that union member to bring that route back to where it's supposed to be in correct format, in correct mapping, and all of that. It negatively affects them. So we need every single carrier to be educated on basically what pays us. So that way no carrier is negatively affected, because no matter what, we're all the same craft, we're all in the same job. Sure, we do different routes, we do different, hills and streets and dirt roads, but it's the same job. We all do it. we need to make sure that everyone's paid correctly and everything is done correctly.
Counterpoint.
Go ahead.
I'll agree with Toasty on that. In my office, I performed 98% of the training for Rex. And I explained to people what you do affects your paycheck. I held my scanner up, I held my wallet up, and I explained what goes in the scanner goes in your wallet. If you don't put it in your scanner, you don't get paid for it. La da la da la. I also explained to the RCAs and even the ones that weren't there. I went around later on to make sure every RCA knew what this route gets credited for is based on what you're putting into the scanner, how you're doing your job, what functions you're performing. If it affects the route's pay, it affects your pay. So you have a vested interest in this route, whether you do it 1 day a week, 2 days a week, whatever. It affects your paycheck. So if you shortcut it, you're shortcutting yourself. And if I'm the carrier of record, I find out you're shortcutting, then you have to deal with me because now you're affecting my paycheck. Now, in light of that, I've had union members who've had full access to all the materials, all the training. Their routes went down because they skipped on the process and then they cried about it. And it's taken them the 3 mini mail surveys to get close to where they were. Not back to where they were, but close. But now they see the value of doing their job correctly. You still will have RCAs out there, skipping on, procedures. We have regulars that do it. I have one, he goes through his route. It's an 8.6 hour route. And if he puts 6 hours in every day, that's a long day for him. But that's his route and that's what he prefers to do. And he doesn't really care. And he doesn't check up on a sub or anything because he doesn't care. He's getting done in 6 hours and making a 43K. You can't possibly get everybody to agree to do the job correctly. You can't possibly get people to not finagle in the office with a supervisor they were having a relationship with, or being buddies with somebody, or a former ADR, or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're always going to have those rotten apples in the barrel. What you can do is turn around and educate everybody at the same level at the office level. And I can't agree to that. Like you said, a gentleman steps into a route that, nobody took care of because they were a non-union member. Well, that's the problem of that office, because in my office, everybody got the same amount of information, the same amount of support, and they all had my phone number and they all made use of it, except for several carriers. And their routes are 41s and J routes now. So it's up to the individual. You can't protect everybody from themselves. And yes, Mr. Johnson, split routes are a big headache.
James? What do you
Well,
have
I'm
Go ahead.
yeah, I'm gonna actually split the two. So, in my opinion, the website is paid for by dues-paying members. So therefore, they should have access to every bit of information that this union produces. Every bit of it. But I also believe our non-dues paying members have a right to the public information. So that would include all the postal manuals, that would include the contract, that would include the training materials for Rex and things like that. They don't have to have full access to every piece of information. They can get that by paying dues to help support the system. But I also believe that if we get a leadership in the office that the carriers actually feel are taking care of the carriers, a lot of the people that pulled their dues will go back into a dues paying status. Because I've talked to so many carriers that have left the union with dues because they felt they weren't being listened to, they weren't having their issues discussed, or they were being completely ignored. Like Bill said as a joke earlier, let me get back to you on that. Let me look into that. I'll get back to you. Don't worry about it. I'll get with you. And they don't. It's time for our union to listen to the people, and people should have access to the most basic pieces of information to do their jobs.
All right, next.
Ag.
Go ahead. Was somebody going to talk? All right.
This is what we are representing, ladies and gentlemen. We're not representing ourselves as being just the candidates, for a national, ourselves as being your voice, because we're not going to do this alone without your help. We're not going to do this, and we're not going to do this without your knowledge. So, when situations come to a head and you need the leadership to step in, then you're going to be able to get a hold of us. Yes, there
Absolutely.
is a chain of command, but the president's office, okay? Or the buck stops at the Department of Steward Operations or business. And we will listen to you, because we're not going to be out there on your route. You are. So you have to know what's fine. And then we'll step up and be your voice.
All right. So this next one says, do you think pushing for a one member, one vote will become an option in our union under new leadership? Bill?
Yes, it's the only fair way to represent the craft.
I do agree.
1%. Yeah, not by 1% of the people who can afford national, but by everybody who pays dues. 100% yes.
Yes, and I agree. And that was my thing too, is I absolutely think it should be one member, one vote. Every member should be able to vote on who their national leaders are. I completely agree with that 100%. Toasty?
Same. I get the delegate system. I get the representative type of deal, but it's too convoluted. A lot of people don't understand it. I mean, even my former local president of our union didn't understand, like, you have to be a national delegate in order to vote on the national board of who it's going to be. So we need to be able to create a system. We need to be able to find out how to make it work and go ahead and push for that.
James?
So I've actually had this discussion several times with people about the one member, one vote issue here. And the biggest roadblock we have to that is a constitutional change, and constitutional changes are voted on at national convention. And you have a lot of people that attend national convention that don't want to give up that power. Just like the national board members don't want to give up the power that they have. And they're going to try and do anything and everything they can to prevent themselves from losing those positions. And those people that are on that floor, some of them who just come to visit their friends once a year, are going to want to take away that power from the craft itself of the one member, one vote if it were brought up as a resolution.
And it has in the
Now,
past.
it has in the past, and it's failed every time. And the reason is because the people that attend national convention aren't willing to give up that power. And I believe our national convention does do a lot of good for the craft when it comes to voting on resolutions, when it comes to talking about the resolutions that are up for discussion and things like that. But our national board should be representative of the craft as a whole, not just an elected representation of the craft that is mostly elected by name recognition only. And that is the biggest problem that we have and the biggest roadblock to the one person, one vote.
All right, this next one is kind of interesting. Sign-on bonus for new hires. Has it been done in the past, and should we have it now? Toasty.
I haven't even given any thought to this.
I know,
that-
that's a good one.
I mean, it'd be a nice incentive. Obviously with conditions, you have to stay for so long type of deal. That's how a lot of other companies do it as well. That's something that we could try to push for in negotiations, but that's not up to us. It's up to, post office and what we can get out of them and what we can negotiate and fight for. Wouldn't mind fighting for it, absolutely. But, it's just one of those things that, we put it on the table, and if it's an absolute no, like that's a non-starter, okay, try again next year. But that would actually probably help, especially for the routes that are POV. That way, hey, you have this to look forward to, so that way that vehicle that you bought, you can put, a lot of money down towards it, or put in, a hefty amount of repairs towards it. For those that are, LOV or Metris, that's, a nice little bonus later on to just stay, to make sure that you make it through. But yeah, thinking about it more, it sounds like a good deal. That's something we should definitely write up in a resolution, especially for conventions coming up.
Definitely it's not something that people think about, especially in our line of work. But I could definitely see, if a resolution was put forth and passed, definitely not something that I would take off the table right away. That would have to be, I mean, obviously, even if it was something that was, once you're out of probation or you hit your 1 year mark, something of that nature, I wouldn't be against a sign-on bonus. James?
I'm going to go against a sign-on bonus. And don't get me wrong, I believe in incentivizing people to stick around is a great thing to do. But I think instead of giving management the bonuses for the offices, it should be the people who actually make it happen, which would be the carriers on the ground, the carriers, the clerks, the people in that office that get management those quote unquote bonuses. It should be a craft employee who's been there 5 years, 10 years, whatever, should get the bonus more so than somebody who just came off the streets and stuck around for a year. And I'm not putting down anybody that's actually stuck around for a year, especially in some of these offices that I've heard about. But you incentivize people to be hired in. What are you doing to incentivize people to stay beyond that incentive bonus? That is the key that we're looking for. The part where carriers stick around to retirement and stick around past to retirement and get everything out of this career that they possibly can. We need better pay more so than we do just a sign-on bonus for the carriers. The carriers deserve better. They deserve better treatment, and they deserve a better working environment across the board. Instead of paying bonuses, put it in our paychecks on our pay scales.
Bill, and then we're going to wrap this question up, and then one more question we're going to get to tonight, and then we're going to wind down for the night because we're over an hour already. So, Bill, sign-on bonus, yay or nay?
I'm against bonuses of the fact, like James says, give it to the people who have already earned it. Bonuses are, to stay for a certain amount of time. It's not a true incentive in regards to doing the job, being more proficient. If we do get the better pay, if we get rid of and we can get pay scales up to match inflation and the cost of living, important to me than giving bonuses out to new people versus the people who've been around, 15, 20 years, the an RCA, no, I'm against the bonus system.
All right, I definitely could see both sides of that case. All right. One more question for this evening, and then we're going to wind this one down, and we'll do a part 4 later on. With the current available technology, is it really necessary for the union to maintain and pay for residences for the national board members? It seems that it would be more cost-effective to pay for traveling when an actual face-to-face meeting is actually needed. Much of the daily business seems like it could be done in a remote manner. This would more easily allow board members to visit local offices and interact with members. In a related matter, it seems with modern technology, we should be offering an option for craft members to attend local meetings via Zoom or similar technology. We should still require a quorum in person, but there is no reason we can't offer participation virtually. Bill.
I would get rid of all those homes and invest in condos, almost, like, a timeshare situation, not a timeshare, but like a timeshare, so that when you had to be in Alexandria for business with the United States Postal Service, you'd have a place to stay. The homes that we have are $1 million homes because of the area they're in. As demonstrated during COVID, our national officers demonstrated, quite clearly, you can conduct business from home. So why are we paying for lawn services and we're paying for utility bills and everything else that we really don't need on a day-to-day basis? And if you have smaller units where, like I said, a condo where you can just fly in, take the train, drive, whatever, and have a comfortable place to reside in while you're conducting business, I'm all for it. The current language in the Constitution says that we have to furnish living quarters for them. It doesn't have a limitation on what those quarters are. And in fact, the Constitution does not say we have to furnish those, as in furniture. And yet they have taken that to an extreme on some of the maybe 5 residences in Alexandria, Virginia. $3,100 colonial desk, $12 bills, $10,000 TVs, the $6,800 mat. When you go to a hotel, you don't turn around and tell them that, oh, you want, the super queen pillow deluxe mattress. No, you get what you get. Matter of fact, the last time we had in Pennsylvania, the officer stayed in a different hotel because they had better facilities. What the hell? I mean, folks, that just blows me away. But the fact of the matter is, we don't need these large residences for our national board, and I'm all getting rid of them.
James.
So I'm in the middle on this because I know that somebody like Bill would turn around, and if he's in Alexandria and the Postal Service is doing something, he's going to walk right on over to their building, knock on the door, and be like, all right, let's sit down and talk, because he wants to get the results as quickly as possible. I understand we can do stuff with technology. I understand that we can, limit things. Also, the reason why they had these homes in the first place was because at the time that this was put into the Constitution, the postal carrier was the breadwinner in the house, and the other spouse was the stay-at-home parent. And they were a one-job household, which we used to be able to afford. Now we're in a 2, 3, 4 job household with 2 people in it, just to barely stay afloat in a lot of instances. And I believe that downsizing what we have in Alexandria would be a good thing. But we also have to maintain records, not only the current digital ones that we have, we also need to maintain the paper ones, because every single document that the union has produced, especially step fours, MOUs, and things like that, have to be kept as they are applicable in instances where there isn't another one to replace it. So you have to have those records. And having them in a specific office to do the union stuff helps them focus more on taking care of the union. At least it would for me. If I was sitting in an office that was specifically for the director of steward operations, I'm going to be focused on that specific task in that office. If I was doing it from home, I'd be distracted by my cat, my dog, whatever else is going on in my house. But when I'm in an office that I am locked into that specific job, that's what I'm doing. So there's double sides to all of this, but we have to think about what is actually best for the craft as a whole. And being right there next to the Postal Service, if anything hits the fan, is probably the best bet overall for the protection of this craft.
I'm kind of split on it too. I mean, I could definitely see Bill's side of downsizing. I mean, like, I know Ronnie has said this in past national conventions about people uprooting their families to move to Alexandria. And you see it now with, a lot, especially if you have small kids. That's, I think, pays a big thing on people not wanting to step up and run at times, especially if you have school-aged children. For me, in my instance, if I was to be elected, I would be going down, and I think my daughter said she'd come with me. But why would I need a whole house if it's just one or two people? I definitely see the downsizing to like a condo that's available for the what is considered the resident officers now. That way we do have a place to stay, we have the normal amenities, but I don't think it needs to be luxurious in any manner. Give me a comfortable bed that I can sleep in. It's not going to rack my back every night. A stove, some cookware, a TV, and a desk to set up my computer. I don't need a lot. I can be a minimalist. I think the minimalist thing definitely, I see that side, like with what Bill's saying. And I see where James is saying as well with, you want to be focused. And I'm the same way, because even just sitting down here in my little spare room in my basement, I got my kittens running back and forth. I've got, the other half is upstairs watching TV or playing video games. You guys have all heard, my daughter come in and out when she's gone to work or comes home from work or whatever and says hi at, post show or whatnot. There's those distractions. So yeah, minimal, smaller. I don't need anything spacious. So no, yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of that as well. Toasty, I know the position you're running for is a non-resident position, but what is your feeling on this?
I agree on the downsizing. Let's clean up the books. Let's make it super simple. Let's go to the condos. Let's go ahead and, yes, some people are uprooting their whole families, which is why I'm not running for a resident position. I'm not going to uproot my two kids from the school that they're at right now, what we've built so far here, just to go all the way over there to just try to get this job. I'm not going to make a career out of this. And it shouldn't be a career out of this. This should be like a steward position. You should do it for the good of the craft, get what you need to get done, and then go back to your route so that way you can experience what current carriers are going through. None of the board had to deal with $5,000, $10,000, for me, $14,000 cut in pay. And for other people, it was $14,000 cut in pay, and they lost their days off. and then turn around and told you had it too good for too long. Don't worry about it. Be happy with what you have. No, I'm sorry. No, if you're not experiencing it, you don't know the struggle, come back to your route, figure it out, talk to your fellow coworkers, your brothers and sisters, and then go back later. But I'm not going to make a career of this. I want to do my 4 years. I want to help out the craft, come back, watch my kids graduate, send them off to college if they're going to go to college or whatever they're going to do, support them through that. Maybe run again later on once they're older and, maybe they start having grandbabies. I'll go ahead and, maybe run again then. But I'm not going to make a career out of it to try to get an additional retirement. I like the plan that I'm on now. I want to help the craft, though. So that's why I'm doing this.
And I agree with you the same way. Even as a resident officer, it's not a pad my retirement or, get off the route and go sit in a luxurious, in a bigger house and all that stuff. To me, it's not. Give me a minimalist condo, the basics that I need to survive. Go do my grocery shop and place to cook. That's all I need. A place to rest for the night, kick my feet up after a full day in the office plus. That's all I need. And then, when I know that I'm, where it's time to hang my hat up on that spot and go back to my route. And to know that we've paved the way for the next cycle of national leadership to come up. It doesn't need to be a full 2, 3, 4, 5 bedroom house, a 2-bedroom condo. That's all I need. I'm definitely, again, on the sizing. And like I said, it's not pad my retirement for me at all. It's to help the craft. It's to be there for the craft, to let the craft know that, yes, we are listening. We're trying to do what we can to make things better for the entire craft. Anything else to add, guys?
I just want to say you're exactly right. Something that just fits the people that are going to be doing this job. Because guess what? At the end of it, you go back home to your route. Current national board members, when they leave their positions, they want to go retire. I know that one of them did go back to their route for approximately 2 weeks before they decided it wasn't for them anymore and wanted back out onto union duties. So it tells you exactly their mindset. They can't handle the job that we do now, so they want to stay in union leadership positions. But it shouldn't be so cozy and comfortable up there that they want to stay there past retirement and keep doing union leadership stuff until they decide they finally want to ride off into the sunset in retirement, or they kick the bucket while they're in office.
That was kind of grim.
I didn't have anything to say to that, so
I just tell it how it is. That's what it is. We got to tell it how it is. It's the same to the craft. If you're gonna do stuff, you got to tell the craft exactly how it is, exactly what's going on, and exactly where things are going. You can't go around and just try to make everybody feel better about things, because you have to be honest with the craft.
I agree. And reading through this again, allow board members to visit more local offices and interact with members. And I know I've touched on this in the past with, we have to get permission to go onto a workroom floor to visit an office ahead of time via USPS. That right as it stands right now, that's what we have to. That's what a national officer has to do, is have permission to enter into an office. However, and I've mentioned this before, I'd be all about, the summer picnics somebody's, region is doing or something like that. Reach out to me. And if we're not tied down in the middle of contract negotiations or there's not an emergency that we're handling, I'm all about not officially, and I'm saying officially, not being paid by the union to go travel, to go hang out with the membership and talk to them directly face to face during the downtimes. I think that would totally be workable in certain situations.
And the NROs too.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, put your faces out there. Let the people see who you are, and let them, piss on your shoulder, cry on your shoulder, whatever. But put the face forward and let them know that the union's here, and we want to know, what your concerns are.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're getting on to 9:30. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up tonight. Do you guys have anything that you want to say? Final words? Anybody? James?
Oh, we want your vote. We're pushing for that with these Q&As. And yes, we're politicizing our podcast a little bit by doing so. But we want to show you what we're thinking because it's difficult for us to get out to the membership in a normal way. The current leadership has the national magazine that they send out. And that is just them politicizing themselves as well in many instances because they're talking about the craft right then and there. This is our only platform that we really have that we can sit down, talk about the things, and show you what we feel. And the biggest thing we want to show you is that all of us together know that at the end of the day, we're all in this together.
Toasty?
If you're going to national, we would really appreciate your vote. But you also have to, this is also for those that are voting for national delegates. If your ballots are already in or they're, still going out, try to reach out. I know I have a list of over 100 people that I searched through Facebook. They have something. I tried to message them, hey, how do you feel about the current state of the union? That's all I asked them. And then they responded back. Based on that response, I either voted for them or I didn't. It would be nice if we had the system of, one person, one vote, where everyone gets to vote on the entire board, but we don't have that yet. We can try to work towards it, but we got to get enough people to vote on it when we get to national convention. We're doing this for y'all. We're fighting for y'all. We're tired too. We're exhausted too. We're upset about the mismanagement and the way carriers are being treated. We want to be your voice. Let your voice be heard. We would appreciate everything that you can throw at us.
Bill?
Well, I'm going to coin a phrase that we use a lot in Westchester, and that is, you can't make this shit up. Now, I know that doesn't sound very presidential, but it's the reality of our current situation. And when I talk to people and I see the Facebook postings, the other social media, postings that are out there, and I just shake my head and say, you can't make this shit up. When the question came up about buying back time, and there was RCA for 23 years?
24.
Was it 23 years?
24.
And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, it's like, you can't make this shit up. I mean, where's the reward for all the years of service for this individual? But where's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Where is the retirement cushion that they should have? And as much as stuff goes on in my office, I see it repeated across the country. And I'm sick and tired of it. And it's time to put a national board up there with leadership who's willing to go to bat for you. Not interested in padding their retirement, okay? Not interested in power and authority, but we're interested in the individual, every individual in this craft. That's our purpose. That's our goal. Represent everybody, not ourselves. Trust me, it's not a picnic to go to, Alexandria and be displaced from your families. It's not a bad deal for me. I'm in Pennsylvania, so I'm only, 2.5, 3 hours away. But other people are traveling from across the country, and they're going to be disconnected from their families. This is the sacrifice we're willing to put out. Oh, okay, you get the big salary and all that. We will show you what the national board should look like. We will be putting in the hours and the effort to make sure that you're represented and that you have complete faith in the integrity of those people that you elect into the national board. Because the last thing I have before you put me into the ground is my word. And my word is gold. I will go out of my way, and I have gone out of my way throughout my life to help others, even at a cost to myself, because it's the right thing to do. That's the way I was raised. It's a gland my wife wishes I didn't have, but I'm sorry. I can't stand to see people treated poorly. I can't stand to see craft members fighting with each other. And I just can't stand the fact that you can't make a living wage at the table too in the United States Postal Service in this day and age.
Thank you, guys. And yeah, I'm not a politician either. I'm a rural carrier. I'm a human being. I'm me. Sometimes thoughts slip my mind. I get scatterbrained. I'm just me. But the one thing that I do care about is the rural craft. I mean, I love my job. I have a target on my back in my office right now. For whatever reason, management won't talk to me or tell me what their issue is with me, but they want me and another carrier, they want to tell the other carriers to not associate with us. What we did, we have no clue because they won't bring it to us. I mean, I'm on that receiving end. I know what that's like. I stand up for myself. I stand up for the other carriers in my office. I represented them as a steward when needed, when I was a steward. I still stand up for everybody in my office as a carrier when things need to be stood up for. And that, wants to put a target on my back, so be it, because, I'm the flavor of the month to put the bullseye on. Really need to get a shirt with a bullseye on the back one of these days. But, I care about everybody. And I try, to listen to everybody. And for one of our listeners who reached out to me and I told him I'd give him a call as soon as, I do apologize for not getting back to you right away. I will definitely within this week. My state convention's up Tuesday. I'm going to try on Wednesday or Thursday to give you a call. Again, I apologize. A lot of things have come up, the office stuff, and then, stuff on the home front too. So, it's there. We're human beings, but we're people that care about everybody. And we want to do what we can for you guys to make sure that we have a healthier future for the craft. Because, together we can be that change. We just need you to support us. Yes, we have turned several of these episodes into more of a campaigning thing, but it is our way to get our word out to people and to hopefully get people to become more active, to see the benefits of being a union member and to be active and what it means to be active, to know that your little voice may have a change. You could write a resolution that goes all the way up and through and eventually into a contract. You don't know if you don't take that chance. You don't know if you can be part of the change if you don't step up. I mean, I ran for this position 2 years ago as an RCA. Just to get RCAs at National Convention is pulling teeth at times because we are the subs. We were the ones that were working so the regulars could go, the ones that, were full working and going. And now as a regular, I am still there fighting for every single RCA and every new regular. And not just new regulars, but our veteran regulars out there too. I fight for Bill. I fight for James, for Toasty, for myself, for my coworkers, for my craft members in the area offices, for my craft members across the country. I fight for every single one of you and put your best interests at the top. I mean, that's kind of a downfall for me, is I tend to put everybody's interests ahead of my own at times. But that's just who I am. I'm a human being that cares. And to know that you have 4 people right now that you're listening to that care and want to see the changes and want to try to make the changes, and we all need your support. So on that note, we are going to close up for tonight. We will be back at regular time next Sunday. And James and I have state convention come up. Toasty, is yours coming up too?
He ran. He had to go work at Target.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. But James and I, our national convention, or state convention. See, I can't even talk straight half the time. Our state convention business starts Monday morning, but we have memorial and caucus tomorrow night, hence why we're recording today, and it will be up sometime tomorrow afternoon before I head out for the week. So everybody take care, stay safe, and we'll be back next week.